Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Amplify Your Business. Today, I'm talking to Catherine Warren. She is the CEO of Edmonton Unlimited. Welcome to the show, Catherine.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
So right off the top, let's get into what you think 3 things are that every startup entrepreneur should know.
Number 1, think big. Start small. So by this, I mean, you have to be ambitious enough to keep your interest in your idea and to inspire others. But you need to also be content to put all the building blocks in place and have that sense that no job is too small, that you still have to tackle it. Second, I would say build confidence through bootstrapping. So you need to be creative about all the different ways you need to deploy to get your idea off the ground when it comes to financing, to building products, to growing customers, securing advisors. Once you know your business needs inside and out, then your value proposition will really be outstanding. Yep. And number 3, help is all around you, so tap it freely. Do not go this alone. For example, in Edmonton, we are fortunate enough to have more than 20 agencies that offer supports for innovators. We have more than 250,000 students in our city to attract as talent. Edmonton Unlimited, our organization, provides free courses. We have accelerators, we have workshops, meetups, events throughout the year. We also offer eligible companies each 100 hours of free coaching. And you can select, from more than 125 local or international experts to help you at every stage of growth. So if you want 3 hours with someone who's going to help you raise capital, then you want 4 hours with someone who's into international business development, and 5 hours with a chief technology officer, you can have it all. You can max out those free 100 hours to grow your business with the experts that you need.
Yeah, what a great I guess offer that is to our startup community. I didn't realize that you all offered that over there at Edmonton Unlimited. And so the other thing also that I didn't realize is what you mentioned. There are 20 agencies that kind of provide services and support then to the startup community, which is unreal. I've always known that we have a really supportive ecosystem here for startups, but I didn't realize it was quite to that degree. And so that's really exciting to know. And so if a startup were to come to you over at Edmonton Unlimited and say, okay, I need some support, you're going to help them with the things that you folks can do, but then you're also going to connect them, I'd imagine, to this broader ecosystem. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. So among our roles are programming, and we can get into that in a bit, but we also do that pathfinding. So we help companies who come to us navigate these opportunities, pick the right fit for their stage, meet them where they're at. So whether you're a member of the public with an idea that you want to explore, and we stream you into our public programming through Edmonton Public Libraries, or you're a third-time entrepreneur and you just want to get into the Valley and start raising money, then we marry you up with one of our accelerator partners. We'll help you soup to nuts at every stage to figure out where you need to be when to get the support that you need. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, just in terms of a startup. So how do you define a startup then over there at Edmonton Unlimited? Because I've heard varying degrees. And so it's probably important because you work with startups exclusively, correct?
No, not at all. So we are we're the innovation authority for the City of Edmonton, and we support innovators of all stripes and at all different stages. So Yeah, so but in particular with the startup community, which is a very important part of our portfolio, we would identify startups from the very earliest stage. So this could be an individual coming out of undergrad or grad school. It could be an entrepreneur who has, perhaps partnered in the past with another organization and now wants to run her own or his own shop. So very early stage ideation through to the founding stage to possibly sourcing co-founders, all the way up to doing your angel investment rounds, building your business plan, through to Series A and beyond.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so we support startups at every stage of that roadmap.
Yeah.
And then we also have scale up and accelerate divisions within Edmonton Unlimited, where we, help propel founders at these more advanced stages along their journey.
Yeah. And so how many organizations, how many businesses would you be working with at any given time then?
It's over 2,000 startups, founders, entrepreneurs over the course of a year that
Wow.
we serve through our programs. Yeah, so it's substantial, and the programs range from let's say a one night event where you get kind of a taste of building a minimum viable product, or you get a taste of how to create a business plan, all the way through to multi-month cohort-based programs where you're really digging into very specific areas of your business that you need to finesse.
And is there a cost to the businesses that participate in any of the programs at Edmonton Unlimited then?
The cost is free. It's
Yeah.
free. So we get generous support from the City of Edmonton. We get support through the Edmonton Regional Innovation Network from Alberta Innovates. We have support from the Provincial Ministry of Jobs, Economy and Innovation. And we have support from Prairies Can, the federal Western diversification shop. So we have leveraged the municipal funding to a great extent so that we can continue to build out more free programs for Edmontonians.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, is because I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that ecosystem that exists and how accessible it is. But then also, in terms of costs, like there is no barrier there to entry for any of the organizations or businesses that really want to start talking about their business and how do we take it to the next level, whether it's startup or farther along. So really exciting things going on over there at Edmonton Unlimited. Now, in terms of the startup community, we're going to talk about that a little bit more today, just because it is Startup Week here in Edmonton this week that we're recording it. So we're recording it on the Tuesday of Startup Week. And you folks have an enormous number of events and things that are happening throughout this week. But one of the big or the biggest event is on Thursday night. You want to tell me a little bit about what's happening Thursday night?
I do. So Thursday night is Edmonton's launch party. And this is a tradition in our city. It goes back more than a decade. In fact, this is launch party 13. And Edmonton Unlimited is privileged to carry the mantle and host this event for Edmontonians. And the idea behind Launch Party is that the startup community and our team have chosen 10 startups for the whole city to rally behind from now through 2023. So these are high growth companies with tremendous potential that are going to get out of the gate. They're going to pitch to the community on a stage at the Edmonton Convention Center. We're all going to get to hear them, to celebrate them, to lift them up. And then we're going to follow them over the course of the year as they achieve their stated milestones. So it's going to be a fantastic party. We have Indigenous dance and drumming. We have an incredible MC, Hunter Cardinal. We have these 10 amazing, stellar Edmonton companies. We're going to have fantastic music, food, drink, and it's going to be a great time for all to just get back at it post-pandemic.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event. We're going to be down there with the cameras rolling. We're going to be talking to these 10 finalists or these 10 featured businesses that you were talking about. And so we're going to do some short interviews with them, and then we're going to get some comments and feedback from some of the other people who are going to be in the room as well. So it is going to be the event that you want to attend during this startup week, or other organizations call it small business week as well. So there's so many different activities happening. This is the one that you want to do for Thursday night for sure. Now, a question for you about the startups. One of the things that, we talk a lot about on this show is just some of the challenges, some of the things that entrepreneurs have to overcome in order to, get their business from zero to wherever they're at the time in which we're actually having that conversation. I'm curious, is there anything unique about a startup versus a business that's already been up and running for 5+ years in terms of the challenges that they face?
Mm-hmm. To that, I would say absolutely and not at all. So
Okay.
on the absolutely side, a startup would typically be characterized as, a company that's doing something novel at a very specific stage in their growth. And it often has to do with how they choose to capitalize. That whole kind of hairball creates the notion of a startup. There are other characteristics as well. Usually founder led. Usually, they do a lot of bootstrapping, and because they're doing something novel, they often have a focus on intellectual property that's patentable, etc. Whereas, other small businesses, they could be family businesses, they could be intergenerational, they could be businesses with a lot of peers, like you could be running a bar or a hair salon or a restaurant where it's quite easy to suss out the competition. Not so much so in the startup space. So so those are some big distinctions on the we're all running a business here side. The reality is you still have to exercise fiscal responsibility. You still have to manage risk. You still have to meet payroll. There are just a lot of the things at, whatever stage you are, if you are running a business large or small, you are accountable for. And that weighs heavily on the shoulders of entrepreneurs, particularly first-time entrepreneurs. It's sort of like first-time mortgage holders as well, having that financial burden, having assumed that risk. And so, with some of the resources that I mentioned earlier, we help entrepreneurs to understand, hey, everyone goes through this. Something that might seem like a crisis to you actually has some pretty tried and true solutions. Have you worked these through yet? You're in good company. Here's someone who's been down this path and pulled themselves out of a risky situation. And so we just kind of surround these leaders and these emerging founders with all of this support.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've also wondered about too, and I ponder this a little bit because I come from a marketing background. We help a lot of businesses with their marketing. From your perspective, What is it that startups generally get wrong from a marketing perspective?
Wow, there's probably as many epic fails as there are entrepreneurs, right? So
Probably, yeah.
we all have our ways of messing up the marketing. Um, I I would say that a lot of startups get streamed too early to marketing to investors before they even market to customers, and that is a huge mistake because ultimately any investor worth his or her salt is going to go back and say, how are you making the market? How are you delivering sales? How are you reaching the communities of your future customers? So I would say, number one, focus on customer side and client side marketing.
Hmm.
Another kind of classic mistake is, and this happens a lot in tech-led companies where the founder, the CEO, does not have a marketing background. It's very product led or IP led, and those leaders tend to make an assumption that they know what the market needs. They know exactly what's best for the market, and surprisingly are very unwilling or unfamiliar with what the actual data is telling them about what the market needs. So it's very important to do that research, do that product market fit, do that validation with your customer base, and not make the assumption that you know what they need, and
Yeah.
also not make the assumption that everyone wants to be marketed to the way you want to be marketed to. So
Yeah.
I'll just give you an example. For many years, I ran a business that helped major rights holders, so film and television studios, come to grips with interactive audiences. And,
Okay.
they often made the assumption that they knew exactly how those audiences wanted to be sold that show or that movie, which, turns out to be utterly wrong. Like, it turns out audiences want a 15-year-old girl on TikTok pitching them that movie, not,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
booming man's voiceover on a trailer. So, we now have the ability to listen to our customers, to
Yeah.
interact with our customers absolutely directly, and to hear from them what is going to work. They'll tell you how they want to be sold. They'll tell you how they want to be marketed to, and it's up to you to ferret that out and to listen, listen, listen.
I love that. It's very sage advice because one of the things that I really appreciate about where we're at today versus where we were, say, 20, 30 years ago from a market research standpoint is we have all of these data points that we can access immediately through digital media, through social media, through reaching out and having those conversations directly with customers. And so we are at a point in time that we've never ever had that same level of interaction at scale anyway that we have at our disposal now, right? And so I think that that is a really good advice in terms of leveraging the power of that today. Just as a little bit of a follow up, though, I'm just kind of curious too, because we talk about this echo chamber that the social media channels have basically created with the algorithms and so on, in terms of like some of the politics that are at play and different types of opinions and so on. And so we get into these echo chambers and we have a hard time busting away from that. How would you encourage a business to, when they're doing that social listening, when they're doing that customer outreach, and that they don't get caught into too small of a niche of a echo chamber, so to speak, so that they're listening only to a very, very select group, and then they'll potentially extrapolate that to, well, that's what the market is saying, although it's just one little small echo chamber.
That is the question, and a lot of it comes down to doing your listening in other geographical markets and really
Mm.
understanding other regional characteristics and understanding different cultures around the world. And then you do need to find your people, and there's nothing wrong with kind of identifying who your ideal audiences are,
Yep.
but don't kind of close the door too early and get too narrow. So listening, to audiences from other regions around the world, making sure that the platforms that you're listening to are not all the same,
Yeah.
casting a very wide net in terms of, kind of age demographic and socioeconomic demographics and things like that. And all of these platforms allow for, as you know, hyper targeting, which, to your point, maybe narrows things too quickly. So you got to do a lot of A/B testing as well when you're using these platforms. And then I would say, after you've got the beginnings of a customer base, ask them for referrals because they might be in different
Mm.
bubbles, and then start listening to where they point you. So you've got that proliferation strategy. But you're absolutely right. It's a risk to be careful of, whether we're voting or launching a company,
Yeah.
to make sure we're not just doing this in isolation in an echo chamber.
Yeah, yeah, because I think one of the things that a lot of startups will do sometimes in the early days of prototyping or trying to figure out what their the viable product is that they need to sell, they'll ask friends and family, right, for their advice, and it's really tough for some of those people to give them fair criticism, accurate criticism on it, and because they're potentially rooting for the success of that entrepreneur as well, just as much as the entrepreneur is themselves. And so, yeah, you kind of get some false feedback at times. And so just making sure that we're not stuck into an echo chamber, even though we've taken it beyond the friends and family. I think your advice in looking for other channels and really going broad with that research is a good idea still too. Now, one thing that you did mention earlier on was around the number of businesses that you work with on an annual basis. And I think you said it was around 2,000 or so. Now, that doesn't represent our whole startup community. Do you have a sense as to how many startups do we have in the Edmonton region currently? It's got to be, a
Sure.
much larger number than that.
Well, actually, according to our research, there are more than 1,000 startups in Edmonton that are like startups proper,
Okay.
incorporated. One of the reasons that our number is so large is that we've got a few things going on. So, number one, we are the lead proponent and managers of the Edmonton Regional Innovation Network. So, we
Okay.
actually, through that program, we support the whole region, not specifically just Edmonton. So, we have
Okay.
access to a larger pool.
Yep.
Secondly, we also work with very early stage founders and ideators that are not yet incorporated as startups. So that like top of funnel is also included in the individuals that we serve in any given year. Another interesting thing about this community is about 50% of everyone who goes through our programs identify as tackling a global challenge. So things
50%. Wow.
50%. So these are big, zeitgeisty,
Yeah.
thorny, tricky problems. So
Yeah.
climate emergency, public health, food security, digital inclusion, social justice, reconciliation, these big global challenges.
Yeah.
So that's very significant for a few reasons. Number one, it demonstrates that we are an impact city. We're a city of startups that are committed to making a difference on a global stage. Secondly, it says we are a city of startups and entrepreneurs that are tackling big enough problems.
Yeah.
We are tackling exactly what international markets demand, and we are exactly where enlightened investors will want to put their capital. So, with all of that said, it makes Edmonton a unique startup ecosystem, not just a great startup ecosystem, but we have a highly desirable niche, I would say, in terms of global positioning.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And this is one of the things that I like about some of the other supporting organizations as well to this ecosystem that are doing some really cool things. And so you and I, we chatted a little bit at Forward Slash, which was hosted by Edmonton Global, and it was really interesting there in talking to the people in that room and the size of these huge economic drivers that were building a business and building opportunity around. It was really cool to hear that. But what was also really interesting was just really digging into some of the stories of some of these entrepreneurs that are out there building these businesses that are going to have such a profound impact and the opportunity that's there. Now, I would imagine in the history of Edmonton Unlimited, there's been a lot of organizations that have come through your doors that have made a pretty profound impact. Do you mind listing off maybe 2, 3 of them that really stick out in your mind as being ones where it's like, okay, they started from ground zero, and we were part of that evolutionary story to now they're making a huge impact. They're a big operator in the space in which they operate, but also maybe making a big impact on the global issues that we as a global society are dealing with.
Yeah. Well, you earlier on mentioned DriveWise, and they were one of the launch party companies going back many years and have done so successfully and raised more than $100 million in capital, and are truly on a roll. And their whole goal is to make driving safer. So they're focused on safety on the roads. Another really interesting company that's had support from Edmonton Unlimited, from the startup ecosystem, is Areto Labs. They're a female-founded AI and cybersecurity company that's focused on making the internet a safer place. So specifically, they combat trolls online and have found a customer base with female politicians, with athletes, with celebrities, with high-profile women whose feeds are just being overwhelmed by trollish hate. And so they're Areto Labs is doing this good work. It sounds like it's all digital, but it turns out, there's also a correlation to safety in the real world. So if you can make the internet a safer place, by extension, you can make us all safer.
Exactly. Hopefully, I was just going to say, hopefully Danielle Smith, our new premier, has engaged them, because like her or not, her policies, she's going to get a tremendous amount of potential, inbox and social media hate just because she's polarizing some views. And so that doesn't help with our Discord out there from a policy standpoint. And so, Areto Labs, good on them. Hopefully they're having that conversation with her right now, because it's going to get potentially hot around some of those topics.
Absolutely. And then there's another company, Growing Greener Innovations, helmed by Connie Stacy. This company is an ingenious battery company
Yeah.
They're
The
focused
Grenjan, right?
the Grenjan,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they're focused on ending energy poverty for good. And they have a wonderful solution. In fact, we've deployed the Grenjan, which is their cool battery pack, on our new signs around that we're taking around Edmonton to showcase Edmonton Unlimited to the community. So
Cool.
we chose a local solution to power these beautiful digital signs.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's fantastic. And I mean, there's many more than just those three, but thank you for sharing some of the ones that kind of pop into your mind immediately. And again, on Thursday, we're going to be hearing from 10 additional businesses that are set to launch and set to really make some profound impact here in Edmonton as well as around the world. What would you say would be the best way for people to learn more about what's happening with Launch Party and the rest of the things that are happening over there at Edmonton Unlimited?
So, well, first and foremost, I would say please go to edmontonstartupweek.com. We have more than 80 events all across the city. Yeah. The vast majority of these are free. You can learn some really interesting things. There's a one that sounds so interesting called Machine Learning in the Wild. The idea behind that one is we know what movies and TV tell us is possible for artificial intelligence. That's not what's really possible. That's not even what's really going on. You can, right here in Edmonton, see the thought leaders in AI, and they're going to tell you exactly where we're at with artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, cool. So just a super cool topic like that. There are dozens and dozens more. And then you can also buy your launch party tickets there. Come on out. It's just going to be a fantastic Thursday night of celebrating these companies, of reconnecting with old friends, meeting new people, and generally kicking off the fall.
So before we go, I want to ask you one last question, Catherine, and that is, what is it that excites you the most about the position that you have as the CEO of Edmonton Unlimited?
Well, this has just been such an exciting adventure to move to Edmonton with my husband, to do that in the middle of a pandemic, to build an entire agency from scratch, to have the support of an incredible community that really believes in Edmonton's potential and reality as an inclusive global innovation capital. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of something really big, and to feel embraced by all of you and the goodwill of Edmontonians, and to really take on this city with all of you and put it on a global stage.
Yeah, well said. And thank you so much, Catherine, for explaining to us what's going on over there at Edmonton Unlimited, and especially launch parties. So get your tickets, everybody. Check out this event. Come down and say hi. We'll get you on camera. But then also those other 80 events, 80 events. That's an 8 and a 0. That's a huge number of events that are happening this week around the city. So check it all out. There's a lot of really cool things that are going on. And I want you to get out there and support all of our small businesses, our startups, and everybody else on this entrepreneurial business journey that they have. And let's put Edmonton on the map and toot our bloody horns about it, because there's so many incredible things happening out there. So please join us on Thursday night and at the rest of the events. Until next time, everybody have a prosperous day. And thank you so much, Catherine, for spending a little bit of time here with us today.